exciting topic today. As you know, our webinars have focused on three types of themes: pedagogy, teaching related, trade related issues, as well as research in international business. And we've been so pleased with the response that we're getting from all of you. And also the feedback that you provide at the end of these webinars in terms of what you think of the topics and speakers, and also suggesting new topics for future discussion. Please keep them coming back. So today, of course, is a very important topic. As we get close to the beginning of our fall semester in North America anyway, we're thinking about what we're going to do differently this semester and perhaps the following differently, and the use of technology in the classroom. So we have two very qualified, highly qualified speakers on that who have been really innovators. They're both master teachers. I think many of you have met them, if not in person, certainly through webinars. Murad Dakli is a professor at Georgia State University. He's not only a master teacher, but also a very innovative educator who was one of the pioneers in using technology in his teaching. And we're so pleased to have Erika Kovacs, Professor Erika Kovacs, back also for the session. Erika, as you may know, she is a professor, clinical professor at Indiana University. And you two, I know, worked together in the past as well. So today, I think we're in for a treat, and hopefully broadening our minds and visions as to how we can utilize virtual space to engage our students through study abroad type of experiences, collaborations with companies and peer students abroad projects, role playing, even virtual company visits. So I think we have lots of good ideas here, two highly qualified speakers. So I'll turn to you, Murad, first and get us started. And please do make some comments on the Q&A portion, and we'll have a few minutes at the end to be able to converse together. So welcome to Murad and Erika, and looking forward to a great conversation here today.
Thank you, Tamir. Thank you for that introduction. Let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen, and welcome everyone. I see a lot of familiar names. Glad to have you join us. And as Tamir mentioned, I would really like for this to be more conversational, exploring ideas. So the title is Virtual Study Abroad, Exploring New Impactful International Experiences. And I hope we kind of focus on that exploration side of it, because I am just as interested in what you have to say and suggest as we kind of navigate uncharted waters here. Virtual study abroad, that sounds like an oxymoron to me first, and I'm sure to many. Are we trying to replace those impactful, amazing experiences of being in another country? And the answer is no, off the bat. But we can still create impactful international experiences, leveraging technology and being more creative about what we do. All right, so it has been quite an interesting year, maybe an interesting couple years. So I chose a few pictures here to share with you. And these are not what you associate with risky locations. You see Paris, France right there, the gilets jaunes, the yellow jackets, and it looks like any other, it could be Erbil, Iraq, or it could be Damascus, Syria, you know, in terms of what you see. And there were some blogs and pictures of students getting stuck, not being able to go outside their accommodations. And we're talking about, again, about Paris. The one on the bottom right here, this is Hong Kong. And if anyone told me a couple years ago that Paris and Hong Kong would be high-risk destinations, I would have laughed. You know, we think of maybe Caracas, maybe, I don't know, Baghdad or what have you as being risky destinations. But these are some of the most popular study abroad location kind of turning into high-risk sites. I had a study abroad myself that was canceled, and we had to look for alternate destination. That was one to Tunisia. The picture you look at here at the top right is our own Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, the busiest airport in the world. And what you see there is airplanes, Delta airplanes parked. So that speaks volumes of where we are today because of the pandemic and the hit that the travel industry and of course study abroad has taken. The one on the bottom right here is a picture of Cuba. We had a wonderful program to Cuba. My colleague, Professor Evaristo Doria, led this program there, and then things were opening up. Everybody was excited by Cuba, and then things politically have changed. So Cuba is no longer feasible, at least for us. So, you know, looking at these, one wonder, why do we even bother? And we bother because we know the impact that these programs have on our students. I have emails. As a matter of fact, one of them was just a couple of weeks ago of someone sending me a message saying she is working in international business context, and what got her thinking about international business, what changed her career, what gave her an anchor in her life is the study abroad program that she took part in many years ago, 5-6 years ago. I take my students to Morocco, to South Africa, to Spain, to Dubai, and there is nothing more rewarding than to see the change in the students' perspectives, views, attitudes. And I think you know, well, it sounds like a cliche, but I believe in it. You find yourself when you go outside the country, and that is so true. The motivation is mixed, and the motivation could be the risks that are involved in this, or the opportunity. And I like to see this as an opportunity. I think there are so many opportunities when it comes to international business and at least for us and for study abroad programs. The risks are really the black swans, and the black swans are those unexpected events. We use this term in business, and these are things that are unexpected. You know, things are happening. The pandemic. No one have thought that one day we will be dealing with a pandemic that will basically put an end, at least temporarily, to international travel. Political instability, again, I was talking about Hong Kong, I was talking about France, other places, Tunisia, we had a program there that was canceled. Istanbul was one of the destinations that I wanted to include, but the risk there was too high. And then travel restrictions. Before even the pandemic, we had students who were hesitant because they were worried that they might not be able to get back in the country. So all of these are risks that come with study abroad. And I think it's important for us, if we want to ensure that our students have that international experience, that we build sustainability systems in there. We build ways to be able to engage in international experiences that are impactful, that are life-changing, but they are robust to this type of things that are happening. We had to do it obviously in the spring, but we also need to be looking down in the future to see how we can better be prepared for this. And I like to look at the opportunity side of it. And I think this is an opportunity, despite everything that's happening. We can expand our reach, different locations, different places, offer alternate cost-effective options, provide students with the opportunity to experience, to the degree possible, how it is like to do business in another country. We are in the international business department. How it is to interact with others from other countries, how it is to collaborate and get things done, cross borders, cross time zones. And I think there are opportunities there to really do this, leveraging technology maybe. We can reach a wider segment, more students, maybe working adults, who might not have thought about traveling, might be able to do this with us. And then we can include more challenging destinations. I mean, I would love to take my students to Iran. It's an amazing culture, it's an amazing destination, but it is not something that's possible to do in an in-person setting. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to consider destinations that we might not be able to include otherwise. So I see this as really the motivation has been driven by risk mitigation, but also exploring other opportunities to engage our students in signature, life-changing international experiences. So In the past spring, we were, our study abroad programs, at least at Georgia State, tend to be 6 straight hours, 3 hours of content. So before we put our foot in that plane, we know what we need to know about Morocco, about South Africa, about Dubai, about Spain, about France. We cover the content. We are moving away from destination-driven study abroad to more thematic-driven study abroad. So we developed one that's called Bridges Across the Mediterranean, where we look at the dyadic relationships between the developed North Mediterranean countries and the developing frontier markets in the North Africa. The one that we were offering in the spring focused on cities. Georgia State has a cities focus as part of its strategic plan. So this was in line with what the university is interested in. And we developed a cities as centers of innovation in emerging markets study abroad, and Casablanca was the focus city. So what's nice about thematic programs, and I think this is something that we should consider, in that the city itself or the country itself becomes just a context. It is not the focus of the program. So instead of saying, my program is doing business in Egypt, or my program is doing business in Brazil, well, my program is about cities and the role that cities play as engine of innovation in emerging markets. So if Casablanca is not possible this year, maybe Istanbul is. Maybe the next time we go to Cairo, or maybe we go to Sao Paulo. So I think moving away from these destination-driven programs to more thematic-driven programs that provide an anchor for the course and for the travel is in itself a way to create more sustainable programs. So as a matter of fact, we had 1 or 2 cities lined up as backup plans should Casablanca, or as a matter of fact, the program was developed for Istanbul in the first place. But that was not possible. We could still take our program to another location. So we had to cover the content, right? Midway through the semester, we were told that all travel is canceled, but our students were graduating. They signed up for 6 credit hours. There is no option for them. So we need to kind of come through. And in a reactive way, we did quite a few things. One is we used technology. We had few panels lined up for company visits. We did that still. So we invited the guest speakers, and our third-party provider, we work with a company called ISP, just like others, came through for us. And we were able to put together with my colleague, Martha White, a set of WebEx meetings where we were able to still chat and interact and ask questions of the guest speakers and of the company stakeholders. We had the pre-recorded lectures. We work very closely with our partner in Esca, Morocco, located in Casablanca. Is a business school. Their professor kindly recorded the top-notch lectures with visuals and everything else, a set of discussion questions that we shared with the students. So the students watched the videos, they had the slides, they asked the questions, and the professors made themselves available to answer those questions. There are also pre-existing webinars and videos that we researched about all the locations and all the organizations that we are visiting. So we made sure that we are not going to lose out on visiting IBM. IBM was one of the destinations that we were going to visit in Casablanca, but we did all we can do to learn about IBM Morocco. And there's plenty of information and resources on it that we were able to discuss in the classroom. We had a service learning activity with IDMAJ. I think this is one of the nonprofit organizations, and we were able to chat with these guys and learn about what they do, and even talk about some of the beneficiaries. So some of the beneficiaries from this nonprofit joined us in this live presentation. So these are things we did, just leveraging technology, I'm sure as other programs have done, to make sure that we make up for the lack of ability to travel to those destinations. This is a reactive way, but I think we can do a lot more. We can be more proactive. And if travel restrictions remain, or if political instability remains, we should be able to step in and do something more than just connecting with others through technology. And I like to look at what it would take for a virtual study abroad. I think it has to offer unique and engaging experiences. Again, engagement is the key. Passively watching videos is not going to cut it. Right? So you have to have the students engaged. Of course, as in any case, it has to be integrated into the learning objectives. The cities in emerging markets was about the role of cities in emerging market, and everything that was scheduled fed into the learning objectives for that course. It has to include live interactions with host country nationals, whether they are guest speakers, firm representatives, partner schools. And as we do for many of other programs, we include and we should expand the peer component. The peer component, we pair our students with their peers from host country, and it ends up being, every time we do an assessment, it ends up being one of the most impactful experiences. So when students reflect on their study abroad, quite often the interaction with the peer, that friend that they met, and those relationships that they have built become really one of the highlights in the study abroad. And to the degree possible, this is a little bit difficult, we have to recapture the spontaneity. And I'll talk more about this point because I feel that adding that element of unexpected, spontaneous interaction is critical. And that is what makes an in-person experience unique. And how can we kind of make up for that to the degree that we can? All right, so I'm going to share a few practices that helped us. One of the things we do, and we've always done this, is once the program is set, we have all this location, we had IBM, and we had the university, and we had the World Bank, and we had all these wonderful places, I think Procter & Gamble, and we were excited about going to these places, but we do assign sites to teams or to students. So the students are expected to do research and present. So what we've done is we expanded on this, right? So we know that we are not going to be able to go and visit the company. So can you provide us with as much information? So the students were responsible for collecting videos, webinars, profiles of key decision makers. So what we did was actually expand on this element of assigning locations to different teams and different students. We worked with our partner school again. We have a very good partner in Morocco. And this is from a slide we did a few days ago, I think on Tuesday and again on Thursday. But we leverage technology to create connection between the students. The peer component in this case was about a innovation challenge. We use a platform called Agorize, and we allow the students to leverage any platform possible, whether it's Zoom, WebEx, I think WhatsApp was very popular. And then Google, the shared Google Documents, Google Slides was very popular too. But we created the opportunity for the students to work closely on joint projects with their partners in the host country. And this is something we've done before, but we expanded it because of the inability to travel and complete the project in person. And that, I think, came through for us. This is something we did not do the past semester, but with something we plan on doing, and I'm looking at these, is virtual live cases. We did a virtual project. We did the virtual innovation challenge for a company called TD Insurance, a Canadian multinational. But we've done this. What you're looking at is a picture of a live case we did with our peers in Morocco. You're looking at students from Georgia State and students from ESCA, Morocco. And this is a project we did for Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble gave us a challenge, and we worked together in teams. And this is possible to move to virtual teams. I think if we get the challenge, if we have the time, and we plan it ahead, I think we can pull off a nice virtual case and consulting project. We do these. We've done consulting project this past summer. My colleague is doing that with his MRB class, and this is possible to do in virtual study abroad. But I also was looking at what else can we do? What technology is available out there that can help us kind of create as much engagement as possible? And one of the technologies out there, and some of you are familiar with, is how can we replace this here? This is a joint classroom between our students and our partners in, again, Morocco. This is my colleague, the Professor Abba, and I have a joint lecture. Can we do that? And I think one of the ways we can do that is by leveraging a technology through a company called Shared Studios. And Shared Studio create this virtual setting where you are having joint classroom, and you don't feel the barrier. You see here people on this table and others on that table, and it's a continuation. And you can have lunch together, you can have a joint lecture together. So let me just show you what this might look like and how this thing works. And this will make an interesting, maybe grant proposal, technology grant proposal for us at Georgia State. but this is really what the technology looks like. It's basically a trailer that you put in a campus, in a classroom. Let's see if I want to make sure that it works. The video is not working, but that's fine. But what it is, you go inside here and you create a joint space where students are able to interact with other students and have a live discussion, live panel. And I think students might find that as close as possible to a real life experience. All right. I'm going to minimize this one here. Oh, there you go. I think now, so this is what I'm talking about here. You walk into the space and there you are. You have a classroom on the other side. You have students, you can divide the screen. And I think this makes for a very nice, seamless, or as seamless as can be, interaction with host country national. The nice thing about this is if we went with this, for example, at Georgia State, it's something that can be leveraged with multiple departments, and it can be a resource that can be shared throughout different programs. All right. So that's I call it my wish list. That's really a wish list that I hope we consider seriously here at Georgia State, so that we can replace some of these signature experiences, joint lecture, joint cases, joint debates, into a virtual setting. The other one that I thought about is this. We all know that in the real estate business now, and people are hesitant to go to visit homes. So real estate agents and real estate companies are offering virtual tours. And you could see this happening for us. You can see this technology, that's existing technology, leveraged here. And I researched this. There's a company called Rico 360 that allows for tours of plants or facilities or what have you. And I think this is something that can provide, I think, an amazing experience going into a different organization or going into your partner university, partner school, and be able to actually look around and see how what the layout looks like. I think this is an opportunity for us, again, to leverage an existing technology that has been proven, that's been widely used in the real estate business, but transfer it into the study abroad domain. But my favorite, again, my other wish list is this Avatur. Avatur is really my favorite. It's been used right now. As a matter of fact, the company is an amazing startup, and it provides a virtual experience. It's just like being there through an avatar. So let's say you map out a route. Say I am going to be in Morocco here, and I am in Casablanca. Really, Nasreen is where I want to start out, and I want to go through here, and then I want to go into this company. You actually have cameras, and students are able to experience how it is to be on a bus and drive through the streets and visually see what's happening out there. And this is what it looks like to be inside a company tour. And we do a lot of company tours on our study abroad, especially for business programs. We talk to multiple stakeholders, but this is what you're looking at right now is actually a virtual visit to a company. These are avatars. So students select their own avatar. They can actually upload their own things that look like their own faces. And they actually go in there. And what's nice about this one, and a partner of mine in Shanghai are actually using this right now with company visits. There is an issue with companies in Shanghai. They complain about how many universities want to do tours. So now the professor will go in there, the students will go and with the students, and they virtually go into the company and are able to visit and ask questions. So this person you see here is actually working there in real time, and students are able to ask questions and tour the facility. And I think when it comes to engagement, this is as close as one could get to that real life engagement with a company visits or an institutional visit. Again, this is not far-fetched. This is technology that is being used right now by companies. And I was looking at the reviews, and some of the companies that are using this are pretty happy with it. So anything that create that engagement, that live interaction, that experience of being there, I think would be helpful above and beyond what we are able to provide in terms of webinars and what have you. Another point that I think we should consider is explore in-country experiences. What you're looking at here, this is Chinatown in San Francisco. This is our own Atlanta Buford Highway, one of my favorite places to go for food and other things here. This is Alif Festival. This is the Arab Heritage Festival in Atlanta with dance, music, and everything else. And these here are our student organizations. Asian student organization, we have the Pakistani student organization, the Indian, the Brazilian. So I think one thing I believe that has not been given as much attention is the ability to build bridges and provide a semblance of an international experience, but leveraging our own backyard. There are so many opportunities to talk to entrepreneurs, to talk to people from different countries, look at how the adaptation, acculturation, socialization, look at all of these issues, but then leverage what we have to offer here. And I think for us here in Atlanta, there is an opportunity to really maybe build this in addition to, not as a replacement to what I was talking about, but I think this can be a resource that we should consider leveraging in our study abroad programs. Just a couple last points, maybe before I pass it along to my colleague. What I have always loved about study abroad, and some of the most impactful are the unplanned, unexpected, but impactful again. These are interaction. These are two of our students, Kashif and Marcel here, and these are their counterparts in Morocco. This is the peer component I was talking about, and these are two of our students, my student and a student from Morocco. But the type of friendship and the type of relationship that built, I know, for example, our students were invited to dinner at one of these guys' homes, and that was an amazing experience. You plan things, and when you do it online, you will follow that schedule, and I'm sure things will be just fine. But this was an experience right here. We were talking to a professor about religion in Morocco and how open-minded Moroccans are, and he said that Morocco, Casablanca, has one of the only Hebrew heritage, Jewish heritage museums in the Arab world. And it speaks to the contribution the Jewish community has made over millennia to the culture in Morocco. And we end up adding that to the schedule. So these are things that happen when you are on site. Here, this is walking down the street in Spain, sampling the food, meeting people and all that. So there are certain things that are unplanned and expected. And we keep in mind that, yes, we can plan things and we will probably stick to the schedule if it's online. But some of the most impactful things are those things that pop out of nowhere and that are not planned. I want to mention a couple experiences that come to mind. We were in Casablanca, this is 5 years ago, and the students, the peers, asked our students what they're doing on a Saturday, and we had nothing planned. They said, why don't you come with us, join us, because we have a talent show. So we end up going to this talent show. These are Moroccan students, and these are some of our students here, mingling with Moroccan students. And it was amazing because our students were so impressed by the fact that Moroccan students could rap in French, in Arabic, in Amazigh, and in English. And it was, I mean, that's what all the kids were into, and that was quite an amazing experience. This is a company visit. And yes, we can do a company visit via virtual and all that. But when we walked to the company, they had actually an amazing lunch for us. And us and our peers from the university there end up having the most delicious couscous. That's the traditional Moroccan dish. So it is unexpected. We did not expect to have lunch there. We were planning for lunch after the tour, but something that was nice. Our student here, one of my favorite students, graduated. She missed the graduation, but she was able to enjoy graduation on the top of a camel there in Marrakesh. And this is a unique experience too. We were walking back from one of the company visits. There were some guys playing soccer, and our students decided they wanted to join. And you know what? It was amazing. When I was talking to this one student, Francisco here, and I was asking him what was one of the most impactful experiences. We have them do surveys. Out of everything we've done, all of these amazing company visits that I like to think were amazing, of course, and all of the things we've done, this is, to him, the most memorable experience. Just going there on the beach and playing soccer with these guys that were playing soccer right there. So there are things we can do proactively, right? We dealt with a reactive way, because of the pandemic, but there are things we can do proactively in terms of planning for leveraging technology, leveraging partnership, leveraging our own backyard to create the signature experiences while we are not able to travel, or maybe complement. Even when we are able to travel, some of these practices are still relevant, but we have to keep in mind that some of these unique experiences cannot be replicated. We have to understand that, and but we do the best we can do within the reality of what we are living through today. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Erica Kovacs. I work for Indiana University Kelley School of Business. And I'm going to share with you my experience with the virtual study abroad, what I did. I wasn't planning on that. It was all because of COVID. And first of all, I consider study abroad a very meaningful experience. I was an exchange. I studied abroad in 1987. I went to Fargo, North Dakota. It was my first study abroad. And here at Kelley, 60% of our business students, they study abroad. So let me share here my screen with you. So I'm going to talk about the global business immersion. So this is a course that our sophomores take. They can either, it's a required course, so they can either take 8 weeks in Bloomington, or they can take 8 weeks and go for a short study abroad for about 8 to 10 days. So let me share here. So we have the short study abroad. We take students to 18 different countries just in the D272. We have other options. We have a lot of our students also go for a semester abroad. As I said, 60% of the students, or they go for a summer internship, and they apply in August to travel in May. So it's all during the spring. Well, Brazil is one of the countries, so I take students, I'm Brazilian, and I take students to Brazil. And with all these D272 courses, what we cover is how to do a country analysis. So the D271, they learn how to do a country analysis, all the past environment, how to make a managerial decision, and they don't travel. With D272, we do the same, but then at the end, we travel to Brazil. So we cover culture, the political environment, the economic environment, technology, and so on. So this is a photo of our study abroad. We go to Rio and Sao Paulo in our Rio, like in the actual study abroad. But then with COVID, we had and with that, with those 18 different courses, we have about 480 students traveling every spring. So I take 26 students to Brazil. So this was our photo last year, 2019. This is for example, a photo of a company that we visited, Ambev, the brewery company. And then we started the semester here. We met. They joined they had to enroll last year. We met in December. They were all ready to travel. We had 2 classes here in campus, and then with COVID, we had to cancel. And then this is our class in 2020. So we had to shift from real study abroad to a virtual study abroad, which was a great experience. So I'm going to share with you how it happened, what are the changes, what worked with this course. So in this global business immersion, the structure, so with the original setup was 8 weeks, 8 weeks here from March 9th to May 18th. It's 3 credits. We would have 16 classes here on campus. Then we would see, when we traveled to Brazil, we would go to Brazil on May 11th. We would have company visits. We do some cultural experiences. We take students to capoeira workshops, for whole workshops. We do some sightseeing. And then we had a case competition scheduled with local students in Brazil. This is already something that was scheduled in the Rio Study Abroad. We had to adapt due to COVID. So we kept the same schedule from March 9th to May 18th, but the content was very different. Still 3 credits. We had 2 classes on campus. So that's when I had to tell the students, well, all study abroad programs are going to be canceled. It was very frustrating for them. They had been planning for that for a long time. They wanted to go to Brazil, like to the other 17 countries. And then we shifted and had 14 classes online. But on the other hand, we were able to do some different things, very aligned to what Murad was talking right now. Instead of the company visits, we actually had companies coming to our virtual classroom. So that didn't change much. We actually had 5 instead of 4. So we had, for example, the CEO from Philips Latin America explaining how she dealt with all the COVID, doing business with COVID in Latin America and in Brazil. So it was really interesting. We had Lucia Jennings from the Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta. We had a Global TV, the international business person from Global TV in Brazil. We had a marketing professional also from Brazil. So different companies were able to come to our virtual environment. On the other hand, while we had planned some classes, in one case competition only with one university in Brazil, we were able to get more students, more Brazilian students in more universities. So instead of, and the peer contact that Morad was talking about was really, really important to get the best out of these virtual study abroad. So we had actually students from 3 different universities, and we can say that, well, universities, then we can have a broader diversity of culture, different backgrounds. So we had 16 students from FEA, from USP, from ESPM, and Unifesp, and they worked on a case from Ambev, the brewery. So about 6-7 weeks in advance, prior to the presentation, the students met on a virtual Zoom meeting. Ambev presented the case. Our Cali students already knew about Brazil because of all the 8 weeks, the content that we were discussing in class. They knew a lot about the cultural differences and similarities. That was very important to work with the Brazilian students, especially in the virtual environment, because they had to work a lot through Zoom and through WhatsApp. That's the main way of communication with Brazilians. So they worked together for 7 weeks in this case, and then they presented the case virtually. So it was interesting because the groups had participants from 4 different universities, Cali and the 3 other universities. So that was a very big learning. It was amazing for all the students. So and with that, when they were meeting, they also learned a lot with these students about their cultural background, differences in education, how we are more task-oriented or relationship-oriented compared to Brazilians. And they had learned about that with GlobeSmart especially. But we didn't have any sightseeing, right? So that was something that we had to cancel. I think the main challenges, so those are the photos, some of the photos from last year. Some of the main challenges of changing a study abroad to a virtual study abroad is, first, we didn't expect that. We had planned to go to Brazil. So of course they were disappointed for not traveling. They were planning for a long time. The other challenge was the online engagement. We had issues with technology. So for example, during the case competition presentation, some students did a great job on recording a video for the presentation to avoid any technological issues. Time management, the Brazilian students didn't have classes. Our students, they had virtual classes. Our students also had virtual classes. So they had to do their own time management to take their classes, prepare for the case, and prepare for the other activities, and work on virtual teams. So those were some of the main challenges on the virtual study abroad. On the other hand, I think we had more opportunities than challenges. They actually overcame the challenges. First of all, in the actual study abroad, we had with the virtual one, we had the possibility of engaging with more than one university instead of we had classes at USP last year, but now we have three universities. So that was really meaningful. That had a very big impact for us. The other one was, I think our students, they need to create this skill on, well, first of all, to work on multicultural teams. That's a very important skill. But not only that, they suddenly had to learn on working in multicultural teams, but also virtually. So how to do a case competition. And the case was very interesting, very challenging. They had a lot of numbers. So, and they did a great job. The other opportunity was we were able to get speakers from different locations. So the CEO from Philips is in Panama. We had another speaker who was in Rio. Another one was in Atlanta. So instead of just focusing on the geography, was much more broader for the guest speaker. And then I think I also got the feedback from the students at the end. It was interesting. We could see how it's possible to travel without actually traveling, how it is possible to learn about the country without traveling as well. So what I would say is I had never thought about virtual study abroad before, and that opened my mind. Well, I have already the plans to take students to Brazil in May, next May. They're already applying for that, and very hopefully we'll be able to do that. But I think this brings some new opportunities in terms of how to open our minds to new possibilities. I know some other universities, some other institutions are doing, for example, cooking classes. Well, we're talking here about all the academic stuff, but also you can engage, for example, Brazilian students with our students here onto, well, how to cook something together. So to add more cultural or add more different things to make it more meaningful as well. I think it also lowered the costs. We can do some of that. So for the students who cannot travel either because of costs or because of time management, this is a new opportunity for them. And then at the end, I got the feedback from students. It was much more than what they expected. And I would say that the peer participation, the case competition added a lot to the 8 weeks that we had here, as well as the company visits. So if you have any questions, I am here to answer. And by the way, I added here, there is a YouTube link for you where I gave an interview explaining with more details about these D272 course to Brazil, what we did. And then we have other professors talking about their D272, how they changed to make it more meaningful without traveling. So thank you, Tamir.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Erica and Murat. This has been very valuable for me, very enlightening, and there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of questions. And thanks for everybody for being here, more than 125 or 130 people from all over. We'll get to some of the questions right away. Erica, you talked about the case competition, the InBev, which is the original Belgian brewery, which then was acquired by a Brazilian consortium. How did you put together the case competition? What were some of the things that you had to do to get ready and implement the case competition? And I think you did that over 7 weeks, did you?
Yes, yes. We started that, yes, way before. So first we have a local partner, a educational company in Brazil who helps putting us in touch with the companies. So this company was a very important partner in finding the case, and we discussed the case because it has to do with the topics that we are discussing: doing business in Brazil, country analysis, and then the company presents a real case. So it has to be a problem that they actually have to be interesting for them and to be interesting for us. So this partner in the middle, they do this communication between us and InBev. or it could be another company as well. Last year, we did that with the university, with USP, but then this year, because it was virtual, then we did with this local Brazilian partner.
Mm-hmm. And a question maybe for both of you, assessment, giving credit to our students for virtual experiences. Obviously, you know, it's a different type of work, different amount of work on the part of the students. There's a little bit more initiative taken by the instructor, getting ready, getting organized, but how do you deal with that? What kind of credit do you think is appropriate for virtual experiences that you built into your course curriculum?
Yeah, I can maybe start. We talked about this in the virtual exchange forum. The virtual exchange piece was about 30% of the grade, a third of it, which it was a joint innovation challenge, leveraging an existing platform called Agorize. It's a free platform, and we had 4 different assessment tools for that experience. One of the positive aspects, I think, the opportunities is that in a virtual setting, you are able to track what the students do and how they contribute. So working on the Agorize platform, the professor has something called the mentor access. And the mentor access, you are able to see when did they log in, when did they log out, what did they submit, and you can actually kind of track, you know, there's a trail in there. The other thing is, of course, the deliverable itself, the quality of the deliverable itself. We also build in the peer assessment, peer evaluations in there, and we include a reflection of the experience of the. So we actually end up with four different tools. For another purpose, we also used for that specific project the IES, intercultural effectiveness scale. So we measured the student orientation pre and post virtual exchange for research purposes. But I think it is very important to go beyond just looking at the deliverable itself and grading it, to looking at the peer component, to looking at the participation, to look at the reflection and other tools as much as possible.
Well, in my case, the case competition was graded, right? So they had a grade for the case competition, but prior to that, so that they would learn more about Brazil, we have also a project. They had to present a project, a country analysis on taking a company to Brazil, where, why. So they did the country, and so that they would know more about Brazil before getting into the project. So there was a pre-deliverable to the case competition. We also had, based on for the guest speakers, they had to prepare, they had to learn about what they do, the companies, they had prepared questions, and then they had to learn to write a memo of what they learned with those 5 company visits, and how that was meaningful in terms how they would relate that to what they learned in the 8 weeks. And then we also had one exam, participation, professionalism. It was a combination of different assessments.
Very good. A quick question, the platform that offers mentor access and tracking, I think you were talking about Agorize, Murat?
Yes, I was talking about Agorize, yes. They have a mentor access in there, and it was very helpful.
Agorize is the platform, but that leads Agorize again. It's A-G-O-R-I-E-C-E. So related to that, affordability, that is when we engage in virtual experiences with our students and connect them to peer students abroad or companies. In a sense, the cost shifts a little bit from the student to the organization, to the school, right? Because if you're using one of these, private services that you talked about, Avatar, for example, Avatur, so there's a cost to that.
Yes.
But I'm thinking affordability is less of a question with virtual experiences, because we can reach more and serve more students.
Yes.
We can do more of these programs. And yes, and of course, important to reduce the cost for the student, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, each of these study abroad experiences will cost them several $1,000s.
Yes.
A 2-week experience, for example. What are your thoughts on the smaller, less resourceful schools that may not be flush with money?
Yeah, I saw that question, very interesting question in the Q&A section. I think actually that's part of the opportunity. If you look at one of the points I think both Erica and I made, is that if you look at this, you know, we had to deal with the risk and adjusting last minute, but there's an opportunity here to create these experiences that can be very cost effective. So for example, I think if you have a partner, again, for us at least, my experience is everything we do, if we do it from the beginning, from the design stage with our partners, it works out very well, right? We don't go to our partners and say, we have a template, can you do this for us? No, we go in there. As a matter of fact, we did the virtual project where we had a joint case analysis, and we sat there, my colleague and I, looking at cases. Which case would be relevant to you, to your student, my students? What kind of questions do we want to ask? So if you have a good partner, the technology now, and as you know, Tamir, the cost of technology is going down, you know? So now you can use Zoom, you can use Skype, you can use all of these things that universities have available to everyone. We did have, by the way, joint classes anyway, even without the shared studios, which I think is an amazing tool. But we had classes with our colleagues, and all we did was place a camera where you could see our students, and then we projected the students on the screen. So we were just interacting, and you know, it worked. It was not great, but it did work. So I think for smaller school, this is really an opportunity to reach out. Again, it's about finding the right partner and doing something, I think, amazing at very low cost.
Mm-hmm. When you're doing group projects, Sevgin asks, is there an optimal size, group size that would maximize the benefits of the experiences for the students?
Erica, you want to take this one? And,
sure, yes. Well, in this case here, I worked with 5 students, 5 maximum. So it would be 2 Cali students and then 3 Brazilian students or 2 Brazilian. So it was 5 would be the ideal, not more than that.
That's similar, yeah.
Yes.
In the project we did, the last one, we had, the class size was about similar. So we ended up having teams of 3 GSU, 2 ESCA, or 3 ESCA, 2 GSU. The maximum team size was a 6, just
6,
because of
yes.
the way the numbers work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And sometimes, you know, I think 4 to 6.
Yes, 4 to 6. Yeah, I agree.
One of our colleagues, Bruce Keebler, was asking, you know, how do we go about developing a network of colleagues and companies abroad with whom we can partner? Of course, under normal circumstances, professional meetings, society meetings, and so on would come to help. But, you know, if we are, let's say, in the US and major cities like Atlanta, then we have a lot of resources, the trade consulates officers, you know, foreign chambers that are located in your backyard, international companies in your backyard, and so on. One of my suggestions actually is U.S. chambers of commerce located abroad. We always underestimate, and most of us don't know how useful they may be. So in major cities around the world, there's always a U.S. chamber, which is the organization that brings together U.S. companies and sometimes international companies doing business there. So they're very helpful. In my experience is that they've been very helpful when we go to them about perhaps a speaker or a project or a survey. What other ideas do you have along these lines in terms of broadening your network, especially if you have a country in mind or company in mind?
Yeah. Very, very good question. And I think, again, back to what I just said, the partner is, I think, what makes the things unique, what makes them work very well. I think look in your own backyard. We live in a country that's highly diverse. We have colleagues from different countries. You know, if you have a colleague who happens to be from China, from India, from Brazil, I think they can be a bridge to connecting you with others. I know for us at Georgia State, I find that we have an office of international initiatives, and they actually catalog the partnerships we have. And instead of kind of starting things from scratch, you can actually look at what existing relationships we have. So I'm not sure if in a small institution you have an office kind of that does the same thing, But I think starting with your home institution, you will be, I think it's surprised of how many bridges you can find that can facilitate connection with different countries. This is one of the most diverse countries on the planet. And I'm sure, especially in the academic setting, we are quite diverse. I look at our unit, our Institute of International Business. We are small unit, but we cover just as pretty much as many countries as people working. So if we have 14 professors, we have about 12 countries covered. So that is something we can leverage.
Thank you, Murad. Thank you both for a very, very informative exchange here. We look forward to future discussions.